nationalism of one kind or another were the cause of most of the genocide of the 20th century. Flags are bits of coloured cloth that governments use first to shrink-wrap people's brains and then as ceremonial shrouds to bury the dead. Chile was not the only country in South America to be singled out by the US government's attentions. Guatemala, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Brazil, Peru, the Dominican Republic, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Honduras, Panama, and Salvador, Mexico, and Colombia. They have all been the playground for covert and overt operations by the CIA. Hundreds of thousands of Latin Americans have been killed, tortured, or have simply disappeared under the despotic regimes that were propped up in their countries. If this were not humiliation enough, the people of South America have had to bear the cross of being branded as people incapable of democracy, as the coups and massacres are somehow encrypted in their genes. This list, of course, does not include countries in Africa or Asia that have suffered US military interventions. Vietnam, Korea, Indonesia, Laos, and Cambodia. For how many Septembers for decades have millions of Asian people been bombed, burned, and slaughtered? How many Septembers have gone by since August 1945, where the hundreds of thousands of ordinary Japanese people were obliterated by the nuclear strikes in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? How many Septembers have the thousands who had the misfortune of surviving those strikes endured the living hell that was visited on them, their unborn children, their children's children, on the earth, the sky, the wind, the water, and all the creatures that swim and crawl and walk and fly? Not far from here, in Albuquerque, at the National Atomic Museum, where Fat Man and Little Boy, the affectionate nicknames given to the bombs dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, are available as souvenir earrings. Funky young people wore them, a massacre dangling in each ear. But I'm straying from my theme. It's September we're talking about, not August. September the 11th has a tragic resonance in the Middle East too. On September the 11th, 1922, ignoring Arab outrage, the British government proclaimed a mandate in Palestine as a follow-up to the 1917 Balfour Declaration, which Imperial Britain issued with its army massed outside the gates of Gaza. The Balfour Declaration promised European Zionists a national home for Jewish people. At the time, the empire in which the sun never set was free to snatch and bequeath national homes like a school bully distributes marbles. How carelessly imperial power vivisected ancient civilizations. Palestine and Kashmir are Imperial Britain's festering, blood-drenched gifts to the modern world. But our fault lies in the raging international conflict of today. In 1937, Winston Churchill said that the Palestinians, I quote, "I do not agree that the dog in the manger has the final right to the manger, even though he may have lain there for a long time. I do not admit that right. I do not admit, for instance, that a great wrong has been done to the Red Indians of America or the black people of Australia. I do not admit that a wrong has been done to these people by the fact that a stronger race, a higher grade race, a more worldly or wise race, to put it that way, has come in and taken their place. Today the world is run by three of the most secretive institutions of the world: the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization, all three of which are dominated by the US. The decisions are made in secret. The people who had them are appointed behind closed doors. Nobody really knows anything about them, their politics, their beliefs, their intentions. Nobody elected them. Nobody said that they could make decisions on our behalf. A world run by the hands of greedy bankers and CEOs that nobody elected can't possibly last. Soviet-style communism failed, not because it was intrinsically evil, but because it was flawed. It allowed too few people to use up too much power. 21st century market capitalism, American style, will fail for the same reasons. Both our edifices constructed by human intelligence will be undone by human nature. The time has come, the war said. Perhaps things will become worse and then better. Perhaps there is a small God up in heaven readying herself for us. Another world is not only possible, she's on her way. And on a quiet day, if I listen very carefully, I can hear her breathing. Thank you.